name is Jason, and I've had a very bad addiction to opiates for the last roughly 10 years. I started off probably, I think when I was 17, still in high school. I took my first Oxycontin, and from then on, my life was just a mess. I went from one, a day to as many as I could possibly take. I screwed up with my job, I screwed up with my bank account, I screwed up with my family, and after a few years of that, I went into my first rehab treatment center, and at the time, I was thinking this is going to be, my only time to come out, be sober, but, on top of the addiction, I had depression and anxiety, and when I got out of the first treatment center, I didn't feel like I thought I was going to feel. I still didn't feel normal. I was still depressed, and I had drugs on my mind, constantly. So it was just a matter of time before I relapsed, and the whole cycle, for the next 10 years, was just going into treatment centers and then relapse, treatment centers, relapse. At one point I decided, it was a good idea to join the military, and that would sober me up, and so I did, but I used drugs, up until the point I left. I joke with some of my friends that basic training was the toughest rehab I've ever been to, because, I had the withdrawals for the first few weeks, and it sucked, but still the whole time, I never felt normal, I never felt right. It was always drugs on my mind, and, in the military, there was no drugs, but, I substituted that for alcohol, and, the day I got out of the military, I got off the plane in Rhode Island and got high, nothing stopped. And this time it wasn't just, pills, I relapsed with heroin. I tried that, and I got off the plane in Rhode Island from the military and ended up in like an alley in Boston with a needle in my arm for the first time. And even when that was going in, I was thinking, what am I doing? How did it get to this point? But I took off from there. It wasn't long before I learned how to do it to myself, and, I was shooting up constantly. And, again, I had an overdose, and that's how, my mom, I think, found out I was shooting up. She probably had ideas I was on drugs, but she found me outside with a needle in my arm, and, I went to the hospital, and I just remember waking up in the hospital and them telling me after this I have to go to another rehab, or I couldn't live with her anymore. So this time in rehab, though, they offered me methadone, and in me, I still had a very addicted mind, and I figured, I can take this and I'll be normal, and I don't have to have withdrawals. But it wasn't like that. The methadone made me just in like a days of like fog nonstop. I couldn't think straight. I slept like all day. I put on a lot of weight, and I tried to eventually, after like a year, I wanted to get off that and just be sober. And the methadone clinic, their timetable for weaning me off it was like just a long time, and I tried to just stop it myself, and I couldn't. After like the third day of cold turkey, I ended up back in the hospital, and I just figured this is the way my life was. This is what it comes to. It's not going to get better. And then my grandmother, I have to thank her for pretty much saving my life. She looked up something about methadone, how to get off it, in Dr. Sponaugle. That's where he came into the picture. And she talked me into going. And at that point, I was suicidal, and I thought, all right, I'll try one more time. And I honestly thought when I came, I said, I'll try one more time, and if I relapse, I'll just pretty much end my life. Like, I was suicidal and depressed. And so I came, and Dr. Sponaugle was, different from any doctor I've ever had. He was interested in me, asking questions, like, looked at me and pretty much told me, I'm going to get you sober and healthy. And I believed him, So I took my last dose of methadone on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I had the detox. I woke up Tuesday, and I felt normal. I felt like I never felt since I was a kid. Like, I just felt, I couldn't even think of, like, what was different until, maybe a few days later. I thought, I was like, I'm not thinking about drugs or dwelling on negative things, or, I just felt like I was in the here and now, and could concentrate. And, all his treatments that he gave me, and what he did for me is he saved my life. And, I really just think, if I was just as bad as an addict can get, drugs all day long, that's all I thought about. And I really feel, if I can get sober, he can do it for anyone. And he has. He's helped many people. My family now, I'm starting to get respect back. I have respect for myself. They tell me, they joke around, tell me I talk too much, and they say, the last 5 years you haven't said a word, and now, you talk nonstop, just as a joke. And it's true, because, I got people in the background right now telling me to cut, stop talking, but I'm going to keep going. And, Dr. Sponaugle and his team and everyone saved my life, along with my grandparents, my parents, my brother, sister, family, all the support that they gave me. I'm not letting them down now, and I know it's different. I'm going to be sober the rest of my life. I really, truly believe that. And I'm just healthy now, I came in at like 250 pounds, and now I've lost over 30 pounds. Still got some weight to go, but I'm working on it, and, I'll drop more. And, just thank you to everyone. And if you don't have hope, and you were where I was, this works, and don't give up.